We're here on a rather chilly morning in Oxfordshire at our head office, and behind me I've got a very special Subaru, a 1997 Subaru WRC car, otherwise known as P5 WRC. This is a double winner, a car that won with Ericsson in Sweden and, of course, none other than Colin McRae in China. And before it heads off to its new owner on the other side of the pond, all the way in America, we couldn't resist, and we had the opportunity to reunite this car with none other than Nicky Grist, who was sitting next to Colin on that China rally. Nicky, thank you so much for coming down.
Oh, I'm delighted. And
really
doesn't it look fantastic?
It's really good to have you back with this car. You know how excited I get about these cars and how passionate about them. So to have you here again to tell us a few stories about China is a great honour, and I'm really looking forward to the day, actually.
Yeah, no. I've got plenty of stories for you.
Oh, good. You always do. I don't know how you remember them all, actually.
You know, we went through the motions of the recce, and we were very much controlled by, it was our first visit, or my first visit to China, and we were very much controlled by the government. And that's the reason for these number plates.
Yeah.
So if we turned right out to the service park, probably a couple of kilometres down the road, there was a police block.
Made your job easier. No chance of getting lost.
So we were all, these plates meant we could just go in the area of the route,
Really?
you see. Well, we basically left the service park, and we had to do it in convoy.
Yeah.
We were going to be led by police,
Yeah.
with the clerk of the course behind in his car. So we were car one, Kenneth was behind us car two, and so on. So we turned left out of the service park, went 300 metres, and there was a road to the left with all the hotels and where there was a police HQ. And we were going straight up this road, straight up into the mountains. These police cars turned left and disappeared. I said to Colin, stop. I said, the stages are up that way.
Yeah.
So the whole rally now was jammed up behind us. We blocked this main road completely. And the clerk of the course comes from the rear of the convoy and said, what's going on, guys? And I said, well, the police cars have just turned left down here. I said, they've gone into that building and they haven't come out. He said, let me make some phone calls. So we made a few phone calls. He came back and said, right. He said, we're going to do it ourselves. He said, I'm going to lead you, and then we're going to deal with it ourselves. So the whole government trying to control things just fell on its head. So there was one stage sort of northwest of the rally, which went right over the top of this hill and dropped down the other side.
Yeah.
And we were to wait at the end, wait for the whole convoy to arrive.
Yeah.
Then we were going to U-turn, go back over the mountain to the start,
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
and then come back over the mountain to check the notes again. Colin said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go over that mountain again.
Right.
He said, is there something else we can do? I said, well, yeah, in the morning, there's 2 stages just down the road which we'll pass, which we're going to do first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I said, if we buzz off and do that now, we then can have the morning off. And he said, oh, brilliant.
Great.
Brilliant.
Want a morning off instead of being out doing a recce.
Absolutely. So that's what we did. We shot off down there, back and forth, did it twice, the next stage twice, went back to the service park, parked up and said, right, boys, we're going out tonight. So we went to the hotel, organised 2 big stretch limousines. We got all our Pirelli guys together, all our mechanics together, and we all piled into these limousines and went off to the Hard Rock Cafe in Beijing. But the roads were really tricky as well.
So was it like little mountain stages?
And narrow, built up, big drop-offs in places.
That must have been fun.
Yeah, and you get a lot of these, instead of a wall, they just put these concrete posts. So if you did go wide,
you had a
you could rip a rear wheel off, and
Really
that was
easy.
it. So, but as far as, you know, this car in that period, you know, it made a great impact.
Amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and for 555, it just ticked all the boxes.
I mean, it's amazing if you think it's become 555 and the Subaru and all this together, and it's become what, one of the most iconic, I still going to say the most iconic, but one of the most iconic rally cars ever.
I think so. And to be honest, when you look at the lines of the car, I mean, you've got to say, it's a beautiful car, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful car. And I was so pleased to have been there right at the start of this with Colin, really. And, you know, the remarkable thing about this, it's the first car that was designed outside of Japan by a British guy. And
who also designed the McLaren F1.
yes.
I mean, he's a pretty talented guy.
He is indeed. But he's got, with the input, of course, of the team, you know, it all worked well. They've got the cooling, they've got the aerodynamics, they've got the looks, and it was the sexiest looking car.
So do you think,
bunch.
so when, I'm curious, so 1997, the first year that you guys were driving this car, did you, the first time you saw it at the time, because now I look at it and I think it's amazing, but at the time, did you look and think, this is mega. This it looks really great. You know,
so
did you like
excited.
it at the time?
Yeah, it was so excited to be a part of it all.
Yeah.
Because it was just, without doubt, the best looking car of the bunch in its period.
And the performance to match it, right?
It did, yes. Like, this car was built around Colin McRae, really. The whole setup of the car was made for him. Later years, you had the Citroens built for Lowe.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could imagine that he was very much Subaru Motor Company.
He was the brain behind it. Was all set up. He was the man. Like, right, what does he want, and how do we develop a car around his driving style? Right?
Exactly. But he had such an impact on Subaru Car Company with their sales in Europe and certainly in the UK. And when he left, slowly but surely, Subaru sales went down. But to be honest, I think if there's any car to own from this period, it would be a Subaru of Colin McRae's, without a doubt.
It's got to be the one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
There's just nothing as sexy as it.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only extra little bit we might have to do is we might have to get like a recording of your voice. We'll have to put a little speaker inside so that the new owner can sort of be there driving and have your dulcet tones.
Yeah, that's
coming
easily
in through the
doable.
radio.
That's easily doable.
So 1997 was the first year of this two-door car, and the first year of WRC.
Yes.
So there was quite a big change, I guess, from Group A. Although it was the first year of WRC, it's still quite a big change of rules from Group A to WRC, right? There was more evolution, more speed, more. The regs were probably a little bit more open to modify the road car.
That's right. Yeah? And technically, under the bonnet was a big thing.
Yeah, let's
maybe
we'll
have a look, and I can.
You can probably tell me. That's it. Here we go. This bit I know. Hang on.
So, we've still had the same basic boxer engine. I say basic, obviously completely aluminium.
Yeah.
Which was unusual. No head gasket, because the heads were just perfectly machined and it would bolt together.
Do you know what? I remember that actually, because I took the other Subaru that we had, P8 WRC, and I took it to a wedding about 3 years ago. And we did some sort of a special stage around the fields at night. Right. And I remember because it got really, really hot, but it kept on running. And afterwards I was told that I didn't blow it up because there's no head gasket. So actually it was able to run quite hot temperatures if there was a problem, if necessary.
Well, later in this year we had an off in Indonesia.
Funny, you know what's really funny? Let me tell you something that's really funny. Right. The car that I had at the wedding, P8 WRC, was the car that you had the off in Indonesia. And I think you guys damaged the radiator and managed to get it back. Yes. You sort of went straight on a left-hander and I think you had a bump with the tree.
That's right.
And we were just talking about it after the wedding. And after I was explaining about no head gaskets, I was like, oh, well, that's how Nicky and Colin got back with no water, the car overheating.
I mean,
it was the same car.
I'd never experienced anything like it because the water had gone. And he said, how's the temperature doing? I said, well, it's beginning to drop now. I said, probably because there's no water left in it. And we just carried on and we carried on. We finished the stage. Then we had about another 30 kilometers to go to the service park, and we're going down this road section, and the smell coming from the car was horrendous.
It was like melting.
Yeah. Anyway, we get to the service park, and the guy said, oh, we'll probably get this going now. He said, we've had one similar to this in when they did Asian Pacific many years ago. And all they did, took the radiators off and just kept on gallons of water with a battery pack and just kept on flushing the water to get everything to contract. And because it was all aluminium on aluminium, it would all go back together. So yeah, what they actually did with this car in comparison with the old Group A car is they had a very lightweight flywheel to help with response. So it picks up and revs very quickly, but then it would drop off very quickly as well. So through 97, there was a lot of development of cam belt tensioners. So if you could imagine with a flat boxer engine, the cam belt was massive, running right round the front. So it wasn't just the standard cam belt. So with this long belt, when you're going on throttle, it would pick up speed very quickly. And when you come off throttle, all of a sudden you'd have this, you know, the engine would de-accelerate probably quicker than the cam belts could slow and catch up. So basically they had hydraulic cam belt tensioners.
Got it.
So that was the Japanese department. They were looking after these hydraulic cam belt tensioners. And we had
trick, really, isn't it?
It's very trick, very trick. But the thing is, it wasn't just to catch the slack. It was then when you went back on the throttle, which could be instantly, they'd have to release again. So we had some issues with that. We had a number of engine failures through this year. Of course, things have caught up a little bit now, and they did get that rectified in the end. But it made the engine a lot more responsive. So that helped with performance and so on. But they've also changed the weight distribution of the car. They got better suspension travel. Suspension, they were allowed to branch out over and above a standard car, which a Group A car was based on.
Which is one of the things, actually, it's nice that you touched on that, because I think it's one of the things which is great about this era of world rally car, is that I can still relate this to the road car. You know, I can still see this is, you know, deep down under, it is still a road car. And I think so many people were dreaming of having, you know, you could buy the car, but Colin McRae and Nicky Grist drove in, well, in this case, in China to a win. And you could actually own that at home. Whereas, and I think that sort of resonates with a lot of people, doesn't it?
I think so. I think so. And a 22B car, which they made a limited edition road car, looked exactly the same from the outside. But technically, of course it's standard. But we were allowed extra suspension travel. All the pickup points around the end, or around the suspension, were slightly different. The geometry was different to a standard car. But they'd improved the handling dramatically as well, you see, for this car. And we had a lot more suspension travel, so it allows you to go faster. And of course now...
And the transmission as well was really tricky. I mean, gearbox, first of all, is amazing on this car. The way how you can sort of call it flat shift without using the clutch, and it's just so precise and so sweet, and it goes in and it's almost like a flappy paddle gearbox. It's so fast. If you're really on it, I'm sure Colin is much better at it. But
well,
bang, bang.
It was a H pattern. Still, we didn't have sequential gearboxes or paddle shifts that they've got today. Although they were looking at this and developing that, but Colin said that this H-pattern gearbox, which was kind of a revamped version from the Group A car, it was an offset. So you're going this way and back, this way and back. But Colin said the change on this gearbox, you know, literally was as fast as you'd want it to be. And it isn't grabbing the stick and doing it. He just slapped the stick.
And it would just go by itself. It is amazing.
It
is. When you can get it right, the feeling of, you know, shifting, no clutch, go up, bang, 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 and it feels, even if you're going in a straight line, you feel like a superstar. You feel like, well, Colin McRae. Which is what's amazing. That's one of the great things about this car as I guess you don't see it the same way, but as an amateur, it's so fun to drive, and it gives you such good feelings and feedback. You know, you don't have to drive it at the same speeds you guys were going to be able to enjoy it and have fun. And you know, things from the gearbox, and you said engine response, it just, it's friendly.
Lends itself together.
It does. It's really friendly.
It was a very McRae-esque vehicle.
I feel like, I mean, you probably correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, but I feel like this Subaru, this sort of two-door 97, it sort of, how can I say, personifies Colin McRae. This is like Colin McRae in a car. If there's a car that represents him, this is the one, more so than the ones before, the ones afterwards.
I would agree with you totally.
Built around him. This is.
I would
this
agree
is
with you
This
totally.
blue car is sort of is him, all about him, right?
Yes, it was.
You've obviously were with him, sat next to him for a long time.
Yeah.
You obviously had a few offs.
Yeah.
And I know you said earlier it was a job. You just, you did your job. You got. Were you ever like worried or scared or at all?
No,
Well,
not
first
really.
of all, were you ever car sick?
No,
No.
no, never struggled.
All right,
never
that's
struggled
good. No
with
car
that.
sick. That's good. And we never worried, never scared, never.
No,
if you during
never.
a stage, would you have to try and reel him back sometimes? If you had a couple
Occasionally,
moments.
yeah. I mean, I
Did you have
was.
to ever say to him like, right, come on,
Well, I was
put your foot down?
I was drafted in to Subaru in the first place to try and
Control him a bit?
him.
Yeah.
Because after he won the World Championship in '95 due to Toyota's exclusion, 96 was a bit of a tough year for Colin and Subaru.
Yeah.
And I was kind of drafted in there to help control him and look after him a little bit. And I have to say that it wasn't too bad. I think when I
It wasn't
joined...
too bad.
No.
It was bloody amazing, I would say. You did a damn good
Oh,
job.
Well,
wasn't too bad.
no, but I think he realised as well that, my God, I'm going to have to, they brought this guy in, I'm going to have to settle down and concentrate. And we hit it off as a relationship straight away.
Right.
And it was completely different to his relationship with Derek.
Yeah.
We were a lot more friends together, having fun as well as doing a professional job.
Yeah.
And that just relaxed the whole thing.
Right.
And it set us off. We still had our offs.
Yeah.
But that is Colin, because, Colin was the kind of guy that if he had to make a few seconds when his competitor was already on the ragged edge, Colin was the man to do it.
Right.
Because his danger threshold was set a little bit higher than most. And he would do things that other people wouldn't even entertain.
Yeah. Right.
And
Quite something.
yeah, and China Rally there was one particular place in China where we had this crossroads, and instead of bridges, they made these gullies to carry water off the mountain, and you basically had to go down in and over the top. And there was this one, and it was not very high necessarily, but it was a long carry, and we're on the recce, and he stops. He said, I think we could jump this. He said, we're going to try. I'm going to try it now. I said, well, I tell you what we'll do. I said, I'll get out here, you go back up the road and try it. But, that's Colin. He saw it. He said, I can do this. And on the recce car, it just went straight over without even thinking. So I didn't even think about it with this car.
Right.
It just took it without.
But he was
even
the type
thinking.
of guy that, right, like, for
He
example,
would
like,
see it.
Right, I'll see it, like, we're going to do this.
Yes.
Flat.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've heard another story about Safari, or there was another jump, or somewhere.
it was Greece.
Oh, it was a Greece.
And it was a major one.
It was a major one.
It was a major one.
Yeah. We can do this flat. We can do it.
Yeah, yeah. And we hadn't tried it on the recce because we couldn't carry the speed, but we did it on the rally. So it was completely, it was on the last day as well as we were leading. So, and he tried it and it worked, but it did. Nobody else saw it. He did. He tried it. The following year, we didn't try it because his brother timed it, and it was worth nothing.
Oh, you see?
Not for the risk.
Right.
But quite a lot of other drivers knew that Colin had done this flat.
So they tried it.
They tried it the following year, and we didn't.
Why don't you talk me through your office?
Yes.
What was your office where you and Colin was to sit and
No,
and
well,
work from?
I think there's a lot of stuff in here, and there's probably a lot of stuff I don't know, Max. Certainly when it comes to Colin's side of the car as well.
Well, probably your side you know quite well, don't you?
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward.
Not too many buttons?
It was simplistic. We've got just horn, wash, wipe, and a reset for the trip meter.
I'm always curious. Did you actually use the horn during the stage? No, not during the stage.
No, very rarely.
I was going to say
very
wash wipe?
rarely. You'd use it more on certain rallies where perhaps you'd have issues with people walking in the road or something like that.
Yeah.
The wash wipe was really important because And especially when you get to muddy events like Safari and
Yeah.
stuff, when you're going through deep, muddy water splashes and the driver's fighting to keep the car under control,
Yeah.
you just keep your foot planted onto the wash wipe,
Yeah.
and it would set the wipers going full speed with very high-powered jets. You know, having a car that was solid and reliable, that really does help matters. You never had to think about, you know, being a little careful. The transmission was going to be a bit dodgy.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
be careful on that gear shift.
Yeah. No,
The car
it was a strong
strong.
car.
It was a strong car.
Yeah.
And, you know, it could take generally most things. You could
Even
always
take Colin McRae driving.
But you know, that's the one thing about Colin, and people don't believe it, but mechanically he was very sympathetic on a car.
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth Erickson, the mechanics used to tell us, if he finished a rally, they'd take his gearbox out and it would have to be completely rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
All the dog gears and balk rings, everything had to be changed. With Collins, you could take the gearbox out, they'd inspect it, and you could put it back in and do another rally. But you know why I think that is? It's because of his naturally talented driving style.
Uh-huh.
He didn't have to work hard
Yeah. Yeah.
to drive fast.
Mhm,
It
mhm.
just became an extension of himself, and it was easy and flowing, where, you know, there was a lot of drivers and a lot of very fast drivers in the World Championship that had to work hard to drive fast,
Yeah.
which made them tough on the gearbox.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, crash.
Overrode the engine. Or
Yeah, and you know, taking cuts in corners and, you know, causing big trouble. But, you know, Colin was very easy on a car. But looking inside here, it's all exactly as I remember anyway. So, yeah, with my own little sort of co-driver tree here and what have you. Yeah, it's all exactly as I remember.
Brings back memories.
It certainly does. I mean, as a co-driver, drivers always had the opportunity to have a car,
Yeah.
and they was a part of their contract. Just to, if they won a championship, they'd give them a car.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a co-driver, you never had that opportunity, and you know. But I think for me, I was, as a co-driver, I wanted a car that I won my first World Championship rally in, which I managed to do in the end.
Huh.
These cars many years ago were really cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my God, I only wish I'd bought one then.
Why didn't you?
I know. And now they've gone skyrocketing. But to be honest, the car in itself, I think, it's so iconic.
Yes.
I don't think you could ever devalue it by...
No.
You'll have a smile on your face when you see it, and the owner will have a smile on his face when he drives it.
When it arrives in America, I think we'll ask him for a little video note. And
Oh, is it sold into America?
It's
Is it?
sold into America. It's going
Oh,
all the way to America.
congratulations.
And he is the new buyer's like never ever driven anything like this. So this is like a real. He trusts in us and in all the things that we've been telling him. So.
I'm delighted. I brought some of my originally rally paperwork as well, which I used on the event
When you were sitting here.
when I was sitting. So
That's
look
really
at that. All the information, the service information's in there. So enjoy everything.
We're gonna send him back to China.
Well, I've
What
got
did you
him. I've got him a lovely 555 Rally China bag. Unfortunately, it does relate to the year after. But Peter, you're more than welcome to have that.
Wow, that's pretty
There's
cool.
one thing I found that is mine. I'm afraid you can't have this. But I've got actually our winning trophy.
Oh, look at that! It still exists.
Yes.
China Rally 1997, general classification, first place, Beijing, China. So this is the actual trophy you were handed in '97.
Yep,
And this lives in your trophy cabinet.
it does.
You must have a huge trophy cabinet.
Yeah, pretty vast. I've got it in various places and stuff, even stuffed away in an attic or I can't
Look
get
at
space
that.
for. But that's something a little different. But you can tell it's definitely got some Chinese connotations with the Great Wall and
Yeah, definitely.
something weird going on there. But
Dragon up there. That's really cool. That was actually handed to you on the podium. That's mega.
yeah,
Very cool. So go on, but what did you find for him?
I've
really?
also got my competitor's badge.
That's
from
not
the rally.
you.
And I couldn't find Collins, unfortunately. I could find Collins for 98 and 99.
Oh, look at that.
In China, you have to have a temporary driving license for the People's Republic of China.
Look at that.
And it's dated 97, so unfortunately I didn't have the 98. the 97 one for Colin, but that's something a little different.
That is super cool.
Then in here, I've got all the road books that I used during the event.
So these are the actual road books that you used sitting there in this actual car?
In this actual car. So
is that amazing?
this is the route that we followed.
Yeah. Rally 1997.
Yeah, with all the tulip diagrams.
Yeah. And these are all your handwritten notes from the time?
Yep, absolutely. All the timings. So I know how much free time I had in a given road section.
Yeah.
So, you know, even plotting our fuel consumption figures, so on and so forth, and average.
I mean, look at the details. So I assume this is like the time at every intersection, I guess. Probably.
Yeah, well,
2506, 2519.
Well,
I mean, that's proper detail.
Yeah, well, the way it works, just to give you an insight, a section is always timed from the start of a stage. So if we go at the start of the stage, everything's zeroed.
Yeah.
So this total section is just under 34 kilometers, and we've got 40 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That 40 minutes is counting down.
Right.
So I finished the stage. We've used 14.7 litres.
Yeah.
At 15:20, so 15 minutes and 20 after doing 26 kilometres, plus the messing around with time cards here, we then set off down the road section. So at this point, it took us 2 minutes. At this point, it just keeps adding on and adding on. So I know
sure you're never behind schedule.
No.
And so this is, as I said, this is from 97. These are the notes that you actually made, your pen, your handwriting for this car. This is great.
So I know if we had a technical problem here, I know in this road section, we'd have 17 minutes to work on the car.
Got it.
Without getting the time penalties.
Got it.
So all of that for day 1, day 2 and day 3 is all there.
This is great. You even got your name on it, just like when you were at school.
Exactly. Nobody else is going to take that. And then I also found, and it's been well used because I would have used this on the recce, which is an overview of the whole map of the stages.
So these are all the stages you did in this car in 97?
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
From the start, here.
Yeah.
And it also shows where the Great Wall is.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yes.
So you can see the sections of the route where we passed and went through.
So you went, there was a special stage that went sort of through or underneath.
Through a gap.
Through a gap in the Great Wall.
Yeah.
How about that? That's unbelievable. That's great.
And you actually have a wonderful photograph in your archive, which Peter will get, with us sat on a bonnet, and that was taken right over at this point, with you could see the Great Wall
in the background.
And
yes.
It's amazing when you consider how many thousand years old it is and where it's built and how it was put up there. Remarkable. But that's a great insight into what the route does. And then other than that, it's just bits of paperwork about shakedown and the city map and where the...
But you know it's amazing that you kept all of this.
I know.
You did it like, and it was sitting in a drawer somewhere, and who would ever thought, that so whatever it is, 20 some years later, more than 25 years later, you'd be back with the car and all the same notes. I mean, what are the chances? How would it...
Well, luckily, because so many co-drivers have burnt a lot of their memorabilia. I mean, all the pace notes I gave to Derek Ringer when I stopped with Colin.
Really?
And when he stopped, he decided he just burnt the lot. Can you imagine? All those pace notes, just burnt it because he didn't have the space to store it.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm so glad you didn't. I'm so glad you kept all of this.
But then I've got a proper map, which was given to me by the organisers. Can't understand a damn word of it. But that is an actual overview of a map of the whole of the area. So, but
is this just in case you got lost or kidnapped?
Yes, basically. So it doesn't show anything of the... I don't know which way up it is. Probably this way.
That way.
But you know,
this was given to you as this is where you were.
But
somewhere around here.
Yeah. So we were up in this area.
Got it.
So, but that's, I very much doubt you struggle to get hold of maps like that.
Probably you're right. You're probably absolutely
because the whole communist thing. It was the first time you were there. Very restrictive over us and where we could go and what we could do. But I mean, that is some fantastic memorabilia.
That's great memorabilia. That is like that. That is that's, well, we always say these cars are so special because of the history and because of all the things they've done. This sort of like cements it all together. This
Yeah,
is
it does.
like, it's
It
priceless.
does. It
You know,
is, yeah.
it is priceless to have the actual notes from the rally in '97.
Well, there's only
you
one-
hear the notes, the car
Yeah.
is priceless.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you,
It's
thank
my
you.
pleasure.
You're gonna love it. Thank you.
Peter, enjoy.